Hello, hello, my friends. Oh, this room is everything I dreamed of it being. Thank you so much for coming. I see so many familiar faces. We're going to have, as promised, a very interactive, nourishing, maybe even cathartic conversation today. I want everybody to feel welcome, to jump in at any time. We'll also do questions at the end if we have time. You never know what we'll do. But this is about all of us. And we're talking about how to prevent a marketing misfire. I have to shout out Joe, Anthony, and Walt Gear for helping me conceive of this concept. We can real talk it right now, so I'm just going to. Are we recording? But that's okay with me too. In our various group chats preparing for Black Week, it was this summer, and things were happening. And Sweeney was Sweeneying, and Ayo was Ayoing, and Target was head in the sanding. And this concept came up as a way to sort of package all the themes in my book, Responsible Marketing, in a way that is actionable for us, even more so than the book, which is very actionable, for this moment. So what I want to start by sort of confirming that I know is that I have the luxury of being in what I want to call a high get-it room. Usually when I give this talk, it's like a mid-get-it room, maybe some low get-it rooms. But I know, unlike when I'm trying to help people get it, my job today is to give you all tools so you can have an easier time at doing the helping of people getting it that I know you're all already committed to. So it's an honor to have that task. It's why I labored for years thinking about the book and 2 years writing it. And it's also why the book isn't just mine. There's probably at least a dozen people in this room who in some way, shape, or form contributed to the work, whether it was quotes, providing insight, helping me not vanish in the dark soul of the night during writing, inspiring me, debating me on LinkedIn, and helping me shape the guidelines that we're going to go through today on how to prevent these misfires. So thank you. I get it. If there's anything that doesn't sit right with you, jump in and say, I'm not sure about that. Fact check me. I dare you. You can try. But yeah, this is about us. So this is a collective, and I thank you for being part of it. All right. So without further ado, you all know me, but I wanted to share a little bit about my journey to this point that I don't usually talk about because I'm too busy talking about the stuff I care about now. What a lot of people don't know is that I started my career at PepsiCo and Gatorade brand as an English major, hired to train with the MBAs because they recruited at Penn, where I went to undergrad. And I think I was just the least snobby about everything I knew person who interviewed. All the Wharton kids are like, oh, I already know everything about marketing. I'm like, what are these P's again? But I'm really passionate. So they hired me, and it was the training ground for everything, even now, all these years later. I won't say how many, but there have been quite a few, that I do now. I continue my CPG work at New World Pasta before business school at NYU Stern, working on, you might know these pasta brands, Ronzoni, Healthy Harvest, regional pasta brands, and this company is based in my hometown of Harrisburg, PA. I summered at Diageo during MBA on Smirnoff Ice. It was the summer of Get Iced, that thing, take a knee. My project was multicultural, and what that meant then, I guess, in 2009 was how do you get 40-ounce Smirnoff Ice to compete with 40-ounce malt liquor in C-store, Lola, because that's probably something you know all about. It was something. Yeah, so I didn't proceed past that summer, but it was an experience. Dell Technologies, that's where I went after business school, and then a new startup called The Daily Dot was my last corporate job before I went independent. And I've been doing this now on my own for 10 years, if you can believe it. This is my 10th year. Okay, so other stuff where you've seen me, blah, blah, blah. I'll mention the book just won its first award. That's exciting. So that's a little about the stuff that has brought me to a place where I can have all of these opinions and they're grounded in experience, even though I don't talk about it a ton. Enough about me. What is a misfire? What is a marketing misfire? What do you think about? I see some faces. Please. Tell me more. That's a new one to me.
The Sydney Sweeney.
Oh.
Gray jeans.
Great jeans. I thought you said gray jeans. I was like, oh, is this like something? Yes. She is represented. Yes. Yes. Exclusion is expensive. A friend of mine wrote this in Forbes, quoted a number of us, and quantified how this really wasn't a win. We'll get more into that. Xanax. I'm sure people remember that from this summer. Kendall Jenner, the classic example from PepsiCo, a company which does a good job, and this is something we'll talk about. There is coming back from it. No one's going to bat 1,000 all the time. But why is it that we tend to have such a low batting average? We do a lot of shooting these arrows, but we don't seem to get better over time, and sometimes we regress based on what's going on around us. 2025, MAG America era, hello. Why is that happening? Not all of us, but that is what we're seeing. So today we're going to talk about a two-part guidebook, if you will, to marketing misfire prevention. You want to prevent a marketing misfire, like forest fire? What do you need to do? Part one, this is the big picture strategic stuff. And I talk about it in terms of mastering the mindset. When I talk about the mindset, I mean the responsible marketing mindset. You can sub whatever word makes sense for you, the culturally intelligent mindset, like my friend Dr. Gabriel over there wrote that book, the conscious leadership mindset, whatever it is. How do you make sure that your work and the people that you're trying to advise are always grounded in really easy to understand principles that allow them to not make those decisions that are based on the thing that gets in the way? And we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I want to share my definition of responsible marketing. This is from the book. This has been heavily workshopped. It's a little verbose, but I think every word is necessary, and I'll just read it quickly to you. Responsible marketing is the practice of ambitiously addressing brand-relevant societal needs in ways that positively impact brand reputation and deliver outsized business results. Every word there matters. Brand relevant, so no, we're not just doing it willy-nilly. Societal needs, so no, not societal trends. In ways that positively impact reputation, so no, not things that make you look like you're revisiting World War II in not a good way, and there isn't one. And not things that just work, but that deliver outsized business results. A little MBA, maybe terminology there, but what we mean by that, as we all know, is not just something that did great, but did better than anything else could do with the most efficient amount of resources, outsized. So when something that was insensitive or irresponsible didn't put a business into bankruptcy and the numbers stayed flat, that's not a win. We're too smart for that. We're looking for the gold. So, and this was something that Joe really challenged me to think about. What is the root cause? Why is it that we aren't improving over time? We have the best people. Everyone's so smart. Everyone's so experienced. We know this stuff. But yet we see these misfires happen again and again and again. Any guesses about where we're going to go from here? Thoughts? The reason. And by the way, everybody who participates, we already got one, until I run out, will get a book if you're willing to write a review. And this is responsible. It's always quid pro quo, you know? You get something for something. So I'm going to sign and give it to you, and then in a week, I'm going to expect my Amazon review up there. Whatever your real thoughts are. I didn't see you, sorry.
People aren't listening to each other or asking like the right. Oh, I got a mic. Oh,
Yes.
people aren't listening to each other, asking each other questions, or asking their consumers what they want. They're just making assumptions or following trends instead of actually having the conversation.
Very good, and I agree. Yes.
I was going to say something similar, but I guess you're not listening to the best people in the room.
Mm-hmm. Here and then here.
Someone here?
Him first, yeah.
I think one of the root causes is not paying attention to the data and what it's actually telling you and trying to make it look like you're performing well as opposed to telling what the actual story is.
Thank you! If it worked, you don't need a PR campaign to tell everybody that it worked. They'll know, because the numbers will show that without any creativity. Yes.
Data, yes. I think it's a little bit more complex than that. I think they have the people in the room and they have the data. They've been on the data since I think the 2010 census. The problem is, and we talked about this earlier in an earlier session, the people who need the data, like the people, us in the room, we don't necessarily have access to the data. And the ones telling the so-called story is usually their media agency. They are telling a very diluted story. And a lot of their tools, basically data is inherently biased, right? And you need the people in the room to call out what's inherently biased, but to put the story around it. And I think the lack thereof of having the people who they respect, they're there, but they're not listening to you. They're listening to their larger agencies because they have the resources, they have the big data, but because that data is biased, and that's why there's misfires. I personally don't buy into the misfire moniker because there's no more excuses, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So I just don't buy
Agree.
into it.
You're right. You knew where you were aiming. You were okay with it. That's a really good point. Okay, we're going to take one more. I'll come back to you, Julian, but someone behind you. And then I'm going to go on. But don't worry, we have plenty of time.
I also think what the opportunity that is also missed is that when people are not in the community and they actually take the data at surface level. So there's always like one supersedes the other over qualitative versus quantitative. And so the quantitative usually is ignored for the qualitative. I don't know if anybody else has this experience, the amount of times that I've seen very surface level media channels, for instance, saying all black folks read Global Grind, for instance. And that is not, again, because impressions might mean something, again, for awareness, but awareness versus impact and actually engagement, two different stories. And you would know that if you're looking at the quantitative side of things.
Absolutely. I mean, not to be shady, but I also will, because I promise you I'd be a little bit. I heard through the grapevine yesterday that it was presented that black people use AI more, we over-index in AI. I'm like, what? And what did you, like, what did you ask? Was this like ChatGPT? Was it Gemini? Was it Gemini Deep Research? Was it like, Lensa Pictures? Like, was it like, how could you possibly come to that conclusion accurately? And, I call BS on it. I'm not saying it's not true, but you haven't proven to me that it is true. And so everything that everyone has said, literally and thankfully, has led to the thing that I'm going to propose is perhaps the root cause. And it's not noble, because fear can also be a fear of loss of power, fear of loss of influence, a fear of loss of being able to exercise your mediocrity with abandon. Pete Hegseth, how do you bankrupt 2 nonprofits for veterans and then get granted the biggest budget in the federal government? Like, what? If I was Pete Hegseth, I would own 9 more islands than Mark Zuckerberg. Are you kidding me? But that's an aside. Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain, or harm. And when I read this definition, I always remind people that that threat is not necessarily material. It's felt. It doesn't mean it's fact-based. So people feel threatened by you wanting the data. They feel threatened by not working with the people who they already know. They feel threatened by not working with the friends they have beers with who are going to tell their bosses what they know is safe to keep their jobs and get their bonus. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to. And like, some of it is valid, right? You have mouths to feed, whatever. But fear is such a part of this. And I've broken it down into 3 types of fear. We'll talk about this a little bit before we proceed, but I'll zoom through them quickly before opening it up. Fear of feedback. What are people gonna say? What's everybody gonna say? Fine, okay. But as I talk about in the book, if you have a defensible approach to something, let them say. And listen, but you have a response, or you can change your mind. Like, this doesn't need to be scary to try something that might work better than continuing to not create outsized results in the easiest way possible. Am I canceled, or is it just critiqued? When did we substitute those words for one another? I mean, anybody intellectual who's in charge of a team of people or is working in a creative profession or somehow is, I guess, what we call a knowledge worker needs to be, has to be comfortable with critique to be able to be their best. And we'll get to a point where my friend over here, design, critiqued my color palette of my deck. Can we talk about this? And of course, I was like, no, leave me alone. The color palette doesn't need to match the book. And then I was like, 2 weeks later, I'll probably change it. It's changed for this presentation. You don't want to talk about it. That's fine. Go ahead.
No, I mean, yeah, just, being in a silo, I think. And we all go through that, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of we have an idea, we just stick to it vis-a-vis listening to outside input. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But so it's never easy, even for somebody, all of us in this room are probably way more committed to it than anybody else, but we still have to force ourselves to humble ourselves and get there. But we can. We can, All right, I'm gonna go through the other 2 and then we'll open it up. Fear of frivolity, this is another one. Does it matter? Shouldn't we be focused on, I get so tired of hearing this shit, you guys. Shouldn't we be focused on the business? Yes, that's literally what we're talking about, is the business. I don't use the word marketing unless I'm talking about the business. Responsible marketing means that you care about the business. It doesn't mean anything else. If the word marketing is involved, it is literally about the business. So stop gaslighting us. Nick Asbury, Mark Ritson, name them, I don't care. We'll talk more about I'm not gonna use the term, I'm not gonna define it, but the bugs, it's a thing. DM me later if you want the acronym spelled out on that one. Miles Klee, one of the writers who worked for me when I was, not worked for me, but worked as a journalist when I was head of marketing at Daily Dot. Brilliant guy. He wrote for Rolling Stone. It's a beautiful article. You should read it if you haven't. It's old, but it's a goodie. Companies that get woke aren't going broke. They're more profitable than ever. This is fact-based, right? But we ignore it because of fear. And fear is easier than finding your humility, right? I don't want to think I did the wrong thing, so I'm not going to change my color palette ever. That would have been easier, sure. It wouldn't have been as effective. And then the last one, fear of hypocrisy. And this is more complex, because even in circles of get-it rooms like this, I think we have varying opinions on this one. If a company hasn't earned the credibility to be doing something good for the world, then they shouldn't be doing it until they fix all the stuff in the other departments that makes them worthy of saying they're doing this other good thing. But my critique of that is, I'm a practical person. I'm a utilitarian. If you're gonna put good into the world, I don't really care what else you do. I do care, but I don't want you to not also put good into the world, because who does that serve? We can talk about the bad you're doing. We should talk about the bad you're doing. But I'm not going to say stop doing that good if it's actually good, and we'll talk about how to make sure that it is, because you haven't cleaned up the rest of your house. It's like, hello, we've all done it. You have people over, and the part of the house they're going to see is clean. But you didn't say don't come because I haven't cleaned my attic or whatever. Okay. I mentioned Nick Asbury. His book is probably the one that, book in quotes. Just look at the other books published under that, it's like Kinko's kind of glorified. And that you can get what I'm saying, quotes, The Road to Hell, How Purposeful Businesses Lead to Bad Marketing and a Worse World. In what world do you prove this? And I had to buy it to make sure I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't. It was nonsense. It's just like your fear has made you decide that you can just say things. And then people platform you. People who I know are smart enough to know better. If I say something crazy or stupid or unfounded, I want you to not platform me. It's probably, I know it's happened. We're not always at our best, right? There should be consequences for mediocrity or underperformance, but it's interesting in our world for some people that aren't. We won't get into all that, but it is interesting. So all of these arguments, I think, have some dubiousness to them. We'll pause here before we get to the next section. Let's talk about fear a little bit.
May I offer one more?
Yes.
Fear of the truth.
Tell
I
us more.
think that working in advertising as we have and with brands for many years, it's this corporate distillation and cleansing of truth and legal saying, oh, we can't say that. We can't approve that. There's no way we can say that. We can't make that claim. We can't substantiate that. And so everything gets watered down. Everything gets reduced. And I love Don Lemon's talk yesterday and just seeing his freedom to be able to speak the truth now and saying I had to code switch for so many years. I had to scrub myself of the truth. But I think that so many brands and their agencies do not speak the truth, and that's exactly how we get into these problems.
Absolutely. And let's be honest, raise your hand if in the last 6 months you've been in the meeting and held back because you were like, I need this check, dude. So here we are. And this is the highest integrity room that there is. So what the fuck? I don't know what we do about that. But let's put it in our pocket and try to figure it out. Who's next? Okay, let's keep going. Yes. Oh, please. Yes. Agency HR, right?
Oh, I'm not on the HR side.
Oh no. What are you? What side are you? I must have mistaken for something.
I was at WPP for about 20 years with VML.
With VML. Okay.
Right.
Okay. What was your function?
Well, all.
Okay. I don't know why. I know we corresponded on LinkedIn. For some reason, I thought.
All good. I was the chief integration officer and then led their consulting practice up until June of this year.
Okay, good. You know what it was? I think maybe you said, come do your talk, and I immediately assumed, oh, this is like a learning person. Those people reach out to me. Oh, well, now I'm even more honored.
But this is long overdue. So, great book. I already have it.
Oh,
take another copy if you sign it, though.
Absolutely.
So I just took a few notes, and you beat me to the punch about truth. Right? Brands are fundamentally insecure creatures. Right? So they're hypersensitive to the reaction sometimes. But I think we've seen something new emerge. Outrage is marketable. So some of these brands are doing what they're doing deliberately and will take the negative attention because it expands the budget.
Yeah.
And we're going to see more of that with AI. Sora 2, have any of you know Sora? Mm-hmm. Okay. You can create fake videos bringing dead people to life, hawking your product, and people won't know the difference. And I'm sure that OpenAI, sorry if y'all here, isn't necessarily angry about the attention.
Yep.
Right? So what I typed, failure is often more newsworthy than success, except when budgets are tight, and a little outrage can go a long way. So some brands are living their truth by pissing us off.
Yep.
Okay.
And they feel empowered to. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna pretty much hope for this is gonna happen right now. We got a lot to get through, so I'm gonna zoom through some more content and then open it back up. I need us to be able to have 15. We got in the room late. There was chaos, so I'm taking 15. It is what it is. Okay, so, and it'll be a tight 15. Acknowledge historical facts. I'm gonna zoom now. You hear people say purpose is this thing that happened after Black people were murdered, after George Floyd was murdered, and now everybody wants to do purpose. Hello, we've been doing it since the Industrial Revolution. It's how the first two consumer packaged goods companies that are still the dominant ones, Unilever and Procter & Gamble, were founded to keep people clean so they wouldn't die of unnecessary disease in urban centers. So, stop it. This is not new. The other guideline, keep it real. So I won't go too much into this. This is all some of the frameworks from the book, but I created this triple top line flywheel. If you do these three things, if you create these three things, they enable each other, they create momentum for each other, and they ensure that you're not being performative. So does a company have a right to do this if they haven't done that? If you're doing this stuff, if you're following the triple top line flywheel, if you're creating real social impact, real reputation impact, and real commercial impact, it shouldn't matter because everything you're doing is benefiting fundamentally the world, and that is net good. There's 4 key responsible moves, the other sort of guidelines, and each of these is a chapter of the book, actually. Solve real problems, tell real stories, create real opportunities, influence real policies. Very simple because it is. But name me one responsible marketing campaign that doesn't fall into one of these 4 very simple categories, or as we'll see in one of my examples, hit on every single one of them. Solve real problems example. Sequoia, are you in the house? Very quickly, give us a 30-second on this amazing project you're working on.
I'm a consultant. My business is 924 Cooperative. We were picked 3 years ago to consult with Delta Faucet Company, which is a 70-year-old water company, to create the first of its kind hand shower detangling tool specifically designed for curly and coily hair by people with curly and coily hair. So we've done everything from research and development all the way through go-to-market strategy, which has ultimately changed their channel distribution, introduced a D2C play, and it is on the market as of 2 weeks ago. So buy it.
And I am, because I notice my curl pattern is so much better when I have the shower head, and now it's a combing. It's crazy. It's amazing. Okay, so they solved a real problem for a demographic of people that maybe they were under indexed. And hello, good idea. And it works. Tell real stories. The ML, our friend Walt worked on this. That's Derek Walker, who's interviewed in my book. Advil Pain Equity Project tells real stories. We all know how they did this. We don't even have to get into it. We'll zoom through it. But it just makes sense. How do you create affinity with a group by giving them a voice? Very simple, very effective. Create real opportunity. I love this one. I've heard some people say we're not sure about the results of this initiative, City's Action for Racial Equity, but conceptually, I love the idea of paying back the historical debt of Black people being disenfranchised from banking. Again, very simple, creates affinity. Let's hope that there's impact involved as well. If it doesn't check the boxes of the flywheel, it's not gonna work. So it's more useful for them for it to be effective. Influence real policies. We all know about Dove and the Crown Act. Literally, it just makes sense. And oh, by the way, they productized it. Always feel free to productize social impact. There's nothing dirty about it. We are all already capitalists. We already signed up, so stop acting like you're a poet or something you're not. And go all in. What does it mean to go all in? Be a catalyst. I think I was watching Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders and the quarterback show this summer. I was finishing the book and this came up, but it's one of my favorite frameworks. There's cheerleaders. Yeah, you can do something kind of good from the sidelines. Champions get in the game. Nike, Colin K. You're in it with him. Catalysts address larger structural issues by paying historical debts to drive systemic change across industry, across category, bigger than just the zooming down. Yes, maybe it feels riskier to get to catalysts, but the impact is always greater. And we have 2 amazing examples. I hope everyone's heard of MasterCard. True Name changed the game by making it easier for transgender, non-binary people. And now I've heard it even extends to people who just need to change their name because they got married or whatever. This is just something so simple. It's like Band-Aids that aren't white flesh tone that only happened in the last 5 years. Obviously, this is something that creates danger at the point of sale for some humans that we all should care about. And it's not optional to care about other humans. I don't care who's president, right? So again, this was incredibly effective. Be elfing extra. We have some elf partners in the room with Oberlin. And I say this because they're doing it all. They have, what I'm about to show you, solve real problems, tell real stories, create real opportunities, influence real policies. The catalyst box is checked. It's all there. They score what I'm calling the quadrifecta, because it's not a trifecta. They hit all 4. So Many Dicks was brilliant. telling a real story, creating real opportunity, influencing real policy. What doesn't it do? It's solving real problems. It does it all. There you go. So the commercial impact, crazy. The CEO is owning it in Trump's America, owning it, and the rewards are worth it. Corey is owning it, and the rewards are worth it. Know your elfing numbers, she says on LinkedIn, and I love that. Oberlin was a smart partnership choice because it wasn't like we're going to do some safe stuff. We're going to come to you and present something where we're dicks in it. How about that? Is that right? Exactly. And that's a great point. There's real work that went into this. This wasn't like you loaded it into some AI thing and wanted something on the surface. Literally, to the extent that, yes, the research university that's creating the study, amazing, but I'll take it back to my favorite topic, me. I'm on the Change the Board Game Coalition, and Drew, literally him, hooked me up with an opportunity to apply to the National Association of Corporate Developers Accelerate Program to become a board director, to be groomed to become a board director that costs thousands and thousands and is very competitive. And I just got in, and I wasn't the only person. So they're doing that. They're investing in us, right? So it's not just giving us the t-shirt. It's giving us the freaking scholarship. And I'll take it. And what happens next? 26 consecutive quarters of net sales growth and market share gain. In 26 quarters, I guarantee you, if anybody from the American Eagle Outfitters team is still there, they won't be saying that. You heard it here. It kills commercially. There's a reason to go all out because it works. So, part 2. Say the thing on your mind strategically. So this is like tools for us now at the personal level, right? How do we get ourselves to a point where we're not all raising our hands? Unsilence your voice in those rooms. Do it by what I like to do, making compliment sandwiches. Oh my gosh, I just really think that you guys could do a better job. I gave feedback to one of my I won't name names, but a publication that platformed someone that I thought was very harmful. And like the DM was, and I know they'll still invite me to do things because the next DM is going to be like, oh my God, I love what you just wrote. Compliment sandwiches work. It builds trust. It's a partnership posture. It's not an adversarial posture, but it's not a pandering posture either. Nobody goes to their lawyer and says, like, give it to me nice and easy. I don't want to hear the real facts. We're used to hearing tough love from some people. We just need to start to be comfortable being those people and taking the risk and knowing that if we're in the right circumstances, and if we're as good at managing as we think we are, and if we're not in bed with like someone who's gonna end up like ruining our life anyway down the line, it can work, right? And make it personal to them. What are you afraid of? Losing your job. Remind them that you're not doing this because you like care about whatever. You're like giving them advice so they won't lose their job. Make it personal to your stakeholders to get their buy-in. Keep investing in cultural literacy like it's your job because it is. I'm going to invite Dr. Gabriel to give me 20 seconds on this amazing quote from her amazing book, Cultural Intelligence for Marketers, that really sums up why this is important. Why are we only doing training for things that we feel matter? And when it comes to cultural literacy, it's optional.
Gosh, where to begin? Well, I think with this quote, I think a lot about how we understand culture in marketing as such, right? And we talk a lot about the whiteness of the industry, who is in the room. But I'm really interested in thinking about ways that we have normalized, right? Even the way we talk about culture, tap into culture, harness culture, capture the zeitgeist, it's inherently extractive. And so we have, CMO of American Eagle, Craig Bromers, I'm going to name him, on Adweek, on their podcast, justifying, basically capitalizing on oppression for the sake of quote unquote cultural relevance.
We knew we were going to push a few buttons is the direct quote,
Exactly,
is it not?
right? And so, in thinking about cultural fluency, what does it mean for us to radically reshape how we understand culture, where we see ourselves not as actors that go out and extract it, capitalize on it, that try to essentially exploit cultural communities for the sake of business, but what it means for us as, I talk in my book about marketers as media agents, as those who participate in the production of culture, what does it mean for us to accept that responsibility and see ourselves as students of it? I talk about what it means to be in a dialogue with culture and assume a position of humility.
Yes.
And I think that's what cultural literacy, fluency, whatever you want to call it, begins with. How do we become humble and responsible for the production of culture that we are engaged in by the virtue of working in advertising?
Exactly. So if you're willing to invest hundreds of thousands, thank you so much. And you know me, I'm a huge fan, obviously, and friend. Buy this book, y'all. Why are we willing to invest in certain things, and then when it comes to, literally, I was going to create a course I won't name with the platform. Well, we're just not sure if it's going to be as marketable as effectiveness. I'm like, it is effectiveness, but okay, I'm not going to, Keenan said yesterday, put a lot of effort into something that I know is not going to net me gains. We can talk when you're ready. It's important, and because literally it's personal, you will save your job. Someone like Drew mentioned, doing the work. That was not easy. It involved humility and learning. So this needs to be as important to us now more than ever as anything else. Honor the audience today's and tomorrow's. We hear so much nonsense like the Cracker Barrel stuff. Well, what do we have now? Who cares? Isn't the whole point that you need new people? Yes, you want to honor your customers of today, and guess what? Showing other people that you don't hate them is not a bad thing to other. It's like, Bud Light is like, I don't hate trans people, and Kid Rock is like, you know what? You ruined my life. Why? And then Bud Light is like, we're so sorry. Why? If his life is ruined over that, recommend him to a good institution of some sort. Don't, pull the influencer. I mean, come on. John Mackey in 2013 wrote, we all have an opportunity to make decisions in such a way that they have positive impacts in multiple dimensions for all stakeholders. Okay, great. And Whole Foods came out of it, and that's pretty awesome. We all know who said this probably already. Yes, Marcus Collins. Choose conviction over convenience. Zooming into pride, but this really matters to everything. It's easy when there are no consequences. Brands espouse a point of view when they have an opportunity to engage in culture. I mean, we all have to do our thing. So, even brand innovators took down an article this summer that they took my time for free to interview me for about Sydney Sweeney because I guess they wanted their relationship or whatever. And now they're having a culture summit. Okay, dudes. Fine. But we don't believe it. They fold when it's not convenient. That's exactly what they did. I literally went to the link and it was what is it? 404. You were interviewed too. It's wow, you really think that you just told us that guy, that's why someone like that makes that campaign, because every day of his life, people are telling him you're more important than everybody else. And they never respond to any of my questions about what happened. Awesome. Bet on the right partners, not the safe partners. Oberling's example. Everyone in this room, the work you're doing is an example, right? Exactly what you talked about, teacher. One that I love, Sephora plus 15% pledge. Dedicating 15% of your shelf space to a certain category of ownership is not an easy thing to do, but if you can commit to it, we know it works. And I love the way that they did this when they initially launched it. Do you guys remember Black-owned beauty for everyone? So it was telling us, okay, and I have to wrap up, that Black-owned beauty doesn't just even have to be for Black people, obviously. Get it right the wrong way. We're almost done. Be able to apologize, not faux apologize. We see so many faux apologies. Don't leave us in suspense. Just repent. be of service and not fragile, and be intimate with your consumers. Don't say, oh, we don't care about the people saying stuff on Instagram because they're not our customers. Wait a minute, but when they say good things, they are your customers, so like, which is it? And this is the last recommend I have for all of us, and that I tell myself every day, and that has got me to this point where I feel confident enough to say what I really think. And it's amazing. Sometimes I feel like the more provocative I am, the more conservative companies want to work with me. It's weird. I worked with the biggest pharma company, the highest growth pharma company, which I won't name them, but like you can try to guess, this summer, literally because of a fiery presence I had on a panel. And it was like, okay, the people who want to do the work will come to you, but here's where you don't want to be, in that middle ground of, I want to do real work and I'm afraid to lose, but I hate it, and like I'm just gonna silence and shrink. Because you can't even do what the Brahmers of the world will do, like, whatevering for the wrong side of the track, and your soul. Because we're all humans, right? Like, we all have one life to live. The work you do at some level should make you excited in some ways, not all of it, for anyone. But like, you have power at any level and every role. Not the same kind or all of it. This is, again, being strategic when you say the thing, but you have power. I work for myself. I have power. I can say something on a platform that I'll never hear from a person who went into a meeting and did something differently because I said it. And then maybe in a few years, they'll pay me money to do something. That's power. Own it. Be comfortable with it. Fake it if you're not feeling it one day. Talk to friends about it. Don't isolate. Don't feel like, you have to be in that bubble of just feeling ineffective, not self-actualized. Do something to get yourself there. And the answer, I find, is almost always community. There's no way, because I talk a lot about LinkedIn and the algorithm, and Cindy Gallup and I do, and it's ridiculous. It's like, the more follows you get, the less we want to show anyone your stuff, especially if you say anything not about memes or AI or whatever. If you talk about women, oh my God, we'll give you one impression. But still, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool for me because it's how I can workshop my ideas from my room, from my desk, as an independent. And that's how the book got written, with all of you. Literally, it wouldn't have happened otherwise. So find that community, whatever it is for you. Your unique lived experience is your expertise. I want to continue this conversation thank you so much for giving us more time. I really would love for us to find some way to keep this conversation going. Maybe, you're a community person, maybe, so send me a DM, get in touch. If you made a comment, honor system, come up. I'll sign a copy of the book for you, or we'll do it out there. And I expect an Amazon review within the week. I'm not going to remember, but it's honor system. So I expect it if you get a book. And also, if you don't get one, just buy one, or a case of them. All right, I wish we would have more time for discussion. Next year, I'm going to ask for 3 hours. But thank you all so much. Thank you.